In the spirit of Inktober, I thought I would follow a theme, and this month, for this year, we're going to be focusing on Jumbies. A Jumbie, in Caribbean folklore, is a mythological spirit or demon. There are many different types of Jumbies, but they typically arise from the spirits of evil people. On my island of Barbados, Jumbies are also known as Duppies. They are dark, shadowy figures of old who terrorize the night, seeking to trick, maim, or kill unsuspecting victims. The word Duppy is a name of African origin, used commonly on the Caribbean islands of Barbados and Jamaica. The word most likely comes from the Ga language of Ghana, where the word Adope literally means dwarf. But in Ghanaian folklore, spirits are dwarves. I know what you did, and you have to pay. The Lagahu, or Gahoo, is thought to be influenced by European werewolf legends and African shamans. He is a shapeshifter, able to take many forms through his practice of the dark arts. He can take the form of a large pig, or a dog, or even a headless man. He can be as small as a mouse, or as big as a horse, and can change size in an instant. He's thought to be a bloodsucker and kills indiscriminately, drinking the blood of goat, pig, or even cow. His most terrifying form is that of a headless man, carrying a coffin on his shoulders or neck. On top of the coffin are 3 lit candles, and inside it's said to contain the souls of the dead. Thick, heavy chains are wrapped around his torso, dragging along the road behind him. The rattling sound alerts terrified villagers of his presence. He is a hard creature to defeat. If you can capture him, you beat him with 9 days with sticks anointed with holy oil or holy water. During this time, Lagahu will transform into all the forms he's ever taken: a snarling dog, a wild bull, a black cat, and even thunderous waves of water, before finally disappearing in a black mist. Kimar and his sister Shay loved going to visit their grandmother during the summer. Mama, as they called her, was a treasure trove of good food, snacks, and old-timey treats they never got in the city. Every summer, they got to spend a month in the country with Mama at her house. Mama, to him, seemed ancient, and she lived traditionally. Visiting her house was like stepping backward in time. As they settled down on the first night, freshly bathed and fed, Mama handed them each a cup of hot chocolate. Not that powdered stuff you bought at the store, but real, freshly ground cocoa paste with spices. Mama had mixed it in steaming milk that she probably got from one of the neighboring farms. "Tell us a spooky story, Mama," Kimar started, "and don't hold anything back." He was 13 now and had gone to the big kids' school. He was a big boy. Shea started to fret. She was younger and more timid. "Don't be a scaredy cat, Shea," he warned, "or I'll tell Risa you don't have a spine." Risa was his sister's closest friend, even though she was older. Shea always tried to be brave around her. Mama bopped him on the head, and he held the offended spot. "Be nice to your sister," Mama chided. Shea laughed. "Okay," Mama drawled. "You want to start off strong, nah?" Let me see what story I haven't told y'all yet. And she got that faraway look in her eye when she was recalling her ancient memories. Ah! She exclaimed. I have one. But y'all not allowed to pee my good chairs, you hear? Mama warned. Shay's eyes widened. Let me tell y'all about the time I saw a Lagahu. She leaned toward them, starting her tale. I was around y'all age, and some strange things started to happen in the village, she said. One morning, I woke up to a whole set of commotion outside. I remember my big sister coming to get me. Mr. Manning cow dead! Come see! Of course, Mama went off on a tangent, explaining who Mr. Manning was, all his family relations, and how he came to have cows in the first place. When I saw the cow, I was horrified, Mama exclaimed. Poor thing looked like it suffered. Neck was ripped right open. But there was no blood. Shade drew up in the chair next to him. I remember some of the men making some cuts into the cow, Mama continued. It was dry. Someone, she paused, or something, had drained it. For a few weeks, this continued to happen. Farmers would miss a cow here, a sheep there. Sometimes they were found, dry or with little blood left. Sometimes the bodies never showed up. At that point, people started to speculate that something dark might be going on. Mama suddenly grabbed Shay's left shoulder and shook. She chuckled. Kimar frowned a bit. But I'm not allowed to scare her, he thought. A month or so later, Mama resumed. I was coming home late from the shop. I went for some rice and things to cook for my mother, she tacked on. As I was coming home, I remember seeing this dark shape trotting coming down the road. When I realized what it was, I near pee myself. It was this giant bush pig. Thing was taller than me at the time, Mama said, holding her hand above her head. Kimar laughed. Surely Mama was exaggerating. A 5-foot pig? But she seemed very serious, maybe even a little frightened, recalling the memory. The thing then started running, and I mean running. I thought I was done for, 'cause it was headed straight for me, Mama said, clapping her chest for emphasis. But it tear past me and headed down the road. Let me tell you, I get home so fast, she exclaimed. When it ran past me, I remember feeling this blast of heat, and I swear the thing eye was red as coals. She raised her palms upward as she swore. Then we started to hear a whole set of banging from down the road, and people started peeping outside. I remember loudmouth Mr. Humphrey coming outside with his cutlass, yelling, "Who come out here to make trouble?" The thing was butting Miss Marcy door, Mama said, rocking her head back and forth, like it wanted to break it down. Eventually, some of the men managed to run the pig back off into the bush. People called to Miss Marcy, but she didn't answer, only grumbled that she was fine. She didn't even come outside. Cue Mama's side rant about Miss Marcy being a rude shut-in that once kept her ball when it went into her yard. But when her son came home that morning, he used to work nights at a hotel. Mama tapped in. He found her dead, and apparently the cross hanging in their living room was upside down. Kimar's eyes widened. I don't like this, Shay muttered. From then on, people started to talk. They were seeing strange animals at night. Large black dogs that would seem to grow before their eyes. Big black rats with bright red eyes. A big black horse passed through the village one night. stomping up and down, left the place hot and uncomfortable, Mama said, recounting the string of strange occurrences. People were convinced we were dealing with some kind of Jumbie. Pastor Lewis even left for a week to ask for help from the big church in the city. Granny slapped her palms into her lap, making both children jump. Things were quiet for a month or so after that, she said softly. Then we started to hear things. At 3 a.m, we started to hear chains rattling. Chains? Kimar asked. What did chains have to do with black, red-eyed animals? Yes, chains, Mama parroted. For weeks. Not every night, she noted, but enough to see a pattern. And one night, I awoke to the sound of those chains again. It was so hot. This thick, cloying heat was so uncomfortable. I looked across and realized my sister was awake too. She too had heard the chains, Mama said. We were both confused. We went to the living room and opened the window. Outside was so foggy, or at least we thought so, since we didn't smell smoke. We ran back to the bedroom to wake up our mother. Daddy didn't like to be disturbed, Mama grumbled. Mummy came to the window, and I will never forget the look of shock and fear on her face. You know, it's a special kind of fear you feel when even your mother's scared. Mama nodded at them, her eyes wide. We were scared, but curious, and we looked back outside. Through the fog, there were 3 little orange lights glowing. Then the picture slowly came together. This large, dark figure of a man was walking coming down the road. He was hunched and naked, with chains wrapped all around him. On his shoulders was this coffin with 3 lit candles. And finally we realized the thing had no head. Its neck ended in a stump, Mama exclaimed. My mother stood there in shock and uttered only one word. Lagahu, Mama said gently. She rushed us away from the window and told Daddy. We all huddled together that night, scared in the dark, sweating in that awful heat as we listened to it walk up and down the village, groaning and clinking chains behind him. We stayed like that till the heat subsided and we fell asleep, Mama said quietly. In the morning, everyone was talking, planning. No one was to be outside late, and everyone was to be extra vigilant. The week after, old Miss Phillips died. We were all surprised, because she was a strong old lady. But she took sick suddenly that week. Apparently, the Lagahu had stopped in front of her house before disappearing. Kimar was on the edge of his seat, terrified and curious to hear the rest of the story. Everybody waited and waited, Mama said, until one night that big pig appeared again. But the men were ready this time. I remember hearing all the commotion, Mama said. Now, I didn't see what happened that night, only heard the accounts. Apparently it turned into all kinds of things. A big black bull, a black horse, back into a pig, a big ram, on and on, as they beat it and wet it with holy water. And in the wee hours of the morning, just before sunrise, it vanished into black smoke. Boy! Mama exclaimed, making the 2 children jump. Those men ate like kings the rest of that year. she said, sitting back in her chair. They were lauded as heroes. And it's true. After that day, we didn't experience anything like that. No chains, no heat, no big animals. Everything was quiet. For a while. But it wasn't all glory for these men, Mama continued. A lot of them got sick. Their skin broke out in boils or rashes. They couldn't eat or had fevers. I think one or two of them even died. But most of them got better, Mama finished and took a swig of her cocoa. She looked at the shaken children and smiled, patting their knees. All I will tell y'all is to be careful at night. Be mindful of what you see, she warned. Mama, Shay started. You know I'm sleeping with you tonight, right? Mama laughed openly. Kimar sat there listening to the sound of the wind and every creak of his grandmother's old wooden house in apprehension. Maybe he wasn't such a big boy after all. Alright guys, so that is it for this Spooktober, Inktober mashup. I hope you guys enjoyed this story and this series overall. I had a lot of fun writing this last story. It was definitely more of me remembering stories and making up my own. A lot of it is stories from my mother and grandmother kind of mashed together into a story. And I just thought it was interesting to write from an old person's perspective. So a story of someone telling a story. The Lagahu is a pretty interesting and somewhat dark of a folklore story. I was watching a few videos on it and honestly it's a bit dark. It's the one folk tale I can think of that is kind of grounded in reality in a way, and has that kind of scapegoating attached to it. I'll leave some references below for what I mean and where I found these explanations, but it comes from a time when African shamanism and stuff was kind of not well understood and people were distrusting of the practices and whatnot. And if you think about the story and how they talk about how you get rid of the Lagahu, you would take a practicing shaman basically and beat him to death. It's pretty dark. It's kind of the Caribbean's version of the witch trials in a way, which is sad, but these are interesting points of history to know about. So yeah, but yes, to conclude, tell me if you guys like this story. Leave a like and a comment. So if you're interested in seeing what I do for the rest of the year and going forward, I would suggest you subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.